it does seem to me that somehow we have to combine the wisdom of both urgency and stamina, and that seems like a truism, but what I'm really struck by, a lot of the stuff we're talking about here were the things that got me into this 15 years ago and that we worked on really hard for a long time, and these are hard things and are going to require a long time to solve, and yet we won't solve them if we don't wake up each morning feeling a great deal of urgency. And so the thing to me that my favorite quote of the last 15 years is that top-down doesn't work, but bottom-up doesn't add up, as a kind of way of talking about what we're wrestling with here. In this conversation, in a way, Lucy's talking about changing the rules is a kind of how do we make the top-down work better so that the bottom-up can add up. The big change in the last 20 years is the empowerment of things flowing from the bottom, and somehow we have to figure out how to get the bigger resources tied to the things happening on the ground. The way we used to do that was through government, through the government policies that I think we're now in an era where the rules of all of that is changing, and that's why so many people are looking at, well, what can be solved through markets. What gives me hope is when I gave my TED talk, I think 7 years ago now, most of the things I said in that talk about reimagining philanthropy are still valid. And I laid out a challenge of I was looking forward to seeing the day when somebody would put up $100 million, but only pay it if it was matched by $100 million in small gifts. You talk about the kind of thing would be necessary, Pete, to do something very exciting against a big thing that need to be reinvented. That requires a really great idea with a lot of confidence that if it happened it would work, and the passion and leadership to mobilize the resources. The way that the marriage of top-down and bottom-up could happen using the systems that Jacob is building, framing it as it's got to be all of us in the way that Clara talked about, and there are probably things about making that happen that would require new rules. But I am hopeful, but also with a deeper understanding of how difficult it is to make progress, and therefore the people who slog day in and day out and have really built something the way Mari has. Mari, you guys have survived two major downturns. Talk about starting a brilliant new technology platform just before the dot-com crash happens, and persist year after year after year and get to the point where you're starting to get the kind of traction you are. That's really inspiring. And for all of the people out there who see the need to reinvent philanthropy, which is all of us, because all of us are philanthropists, I would say it all starts at home. What are you doing? What are we doing? What are each of us doing individually to begin to behave in new ways that will collectively add up to the reinvention of philanthropy?